Welcome back, everybody, to the Catastropiece. This is your host, Miracle J, and this is the show where every time I bring on a guest who has gone through something most people would consider a catastrophe and find a way to turn it into a masterpiece, something great that they can benefit from in life, and they're here to share what they have to help someone else who can also benefit from what they've learned. So today, I have another special guest. This is another one of my brothers
Mm.
of IMC Nation. This is Ryan. He is a data analyst, and what he does for a living is exactly that. He helps people turn their pain into profits. In fact, he has an event coming up on that. It's called Pain to Profits.
Mhm.
So this is what we'll be going into. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi guys, my name is Ryan G, also known as Ryu, also known as man, I always laugh when I have to say this nickname. Ryan G, KQED, because I have a very much a radio voice. Now, where do we start?
All right, let's say we start with, why don't you tell the people what you do? I know I gave a
Hmm.
brief description, but I'm sure you can go into it deeper.
Let's start with my origin. Now, the drive to improve the lives of people started when my dad had a sawmill back in the old country of Suriname, South America. Now, it's been a family business for at least 3 generations, and I always wanted to help my dad make smarter choices, help the employees make smarter choices and be faster, more efficient so that we can all make more money and have better lives. And coming to the Netherlands is one of the toughest things I went through, with the culture shock and etc. Making the wrong study choices, ultimately coming into on the path of becoming a business and data analyst, and suddenly creating my own business that specializes in the whole lifestyle business dynamic of if you can recognize the symptoms of trouble and inefficiency and ineffectiveness in businesses, it should in theory be possible to do that with the life of a person. Because as we've learned through ACD, we're not even ACD, through quotes of Rumi, the answer lies in pain, and is very true in business. What ails a business could maybe be, let's say, a marketing process. People don't know about this specific product yet. It's not getting enough traction. As we move through the different phases of getting attention, getting people enthusiastic, getting people to question and want more about it, we start to realize even more about what's wrong with how we approach the marketing process. And thus, by looking at it, we can now improve upon and simplify it. To the point it is not only science, it becomes musical art. Thus, we have turned something that has been troubling us into something that benefits us so greatly that we can outcompete the market, or at the very least, the ones we're competing against. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Hmm. I get what you're saying from a business standpoint, how, and this all came from, I guess, growing up and seeing your dad,
Yeah,
how you went through business and what you
yeah,
experienced there.
yeah.
And did that become sort of like a passion? And you're like, this is something that I want to not only do this for people in business now, but as you mentioned earlier, you said you want to find a correlation that help people do that with their lives.
Yeah, because as I moved here like 10, 11 years ago, the first 2 years was hell. I mean, I lost my friends. I didn't have my girlfriend anymore. My parents were in the process of selling the company and probably even losing a lot of money along the way. we went from a middle class rich to lower middle class, let's say, and it was a very significant to me, to the point where we even became poor for at least half a year, like proper poor. And there I am, not performing at school, even though I'm giving it everything and being very frustrated. And it came a point where I had to make a choice and kill my ego and go from a prestigious university to a normal college and work my way up again to university. And looking back, I start to see elements of the AZD process. One of the elements being we as men, especially, are beasts made for conflict. As I was willing to accept the pain or acknowledge the pain or be aware of the pain at the very least, I could consciously make a decision to not only work through the pain, but actually find the root cause. And the root cause in my case was I was too proud to take that step. Shame had nothing to do with it.
Okay, and really quick, because I don't want people to get lost. I know you're going into it, but you mentioned through the AZD process, and I know not a lot of people know exactly what that is. So if you were to give a brief overview of exactly what that is, because
in one sentence it would be it's a mental, spiritual, and physical alchemy applied in one go. It's a method or almost a multi-phase lifestyle that you're creating where you're being challenged at all corners. It is as if you're taking up a new martial arts. And as you get better at it, the more things open up. But now it's not only physical or mental, but it's also spiritual. It's that whole health. If you are to split into 3 groups, to keep it even more simple, it would be health, wealth, and relationship. You get up to work on your health, like be it physical, mental, spiritual. Then you focus on the wealth aspect, making sure that you have enough money by, learning how to invest, maybe organizing events, or preparing for work. And then, of course, relationships, be it from a more pickup perspective, building new relationship with women, or in my case specifically, I decided to make an effort to improve the relationship with my parents. It's a very simple case. This methodology exists out of, let's say, phase 1 would be simple cold showers, good food, meditation, at least a 1-hour workout, and reading fundamental books like Stoicism, Law of Attraction by Shane Smith, and any spiritual book like Kybalion, the Master Key System, or the Bhagavad Gita. You only need that. Now, I would recommend anyone to do this for at least 3 months before you continue to the next. But with the question of, am I challenging myself enough? And as you start to ask that question, things start to pop up because that's how the mind works. And then, of course, a thesis comes about, the building of my business comes about. And we start to realize that what holds us back is ourselves, because we love creating problems for ourselves. And one problem that I've created was I have a unnecessary fear of driving cars because it's too much responsibility. And if I make a mistake, I feel fucked up about myself. So I avoided it for years. And on the day that I became 30, I figured, fuck that shit. Took the family car to work. Made all the classical mistakes of, using the gears wrong because I'm driving manually, um, not speeding up fast enough, blah, blah, blah. But as I was making these mistakes, I was applying mental technology from, let's say, Michael Singer's. I am being okay with not being okay. I am working through the pain, to the embarrassment, to the shame. And now looking back almost a month ago, I started to realize the shame stems from deep-rooted memories of trauma. And physical abuse, mental abuse by either teachers or my own parents or family members. I started to realize that I can turn my past experience into a catalyst for my current experiencing.
Right.
And these are some lessons that I got from Ivan Alejandro Costa, where I can deliberately choose to have another past. The same storyline, but where I teach myself my past, that whatever I face in my past, I could have faced it even better. Because as we learn, even in business, how we respond to whatever happens is what dictates the outcome eventually. We've seen it plenty of times. Let's say eBay. Has lost against Alibaba and AliExpress because they didn't understand the Asian market and its culture. They went in very business minded, let's say. Very up. We're only thinking about the cash and that's it. Where AliExpress and Alibaba very well understood the Chinese market and how they enjoyed the cute products, the cute personalization. And in a few years, Alibaba and AliExpress beat eBay out of the market. And this is a very similar situation that we have. Because as I am looking at how I've been running my life, I start to see I've been running my life how a business would do bad business. As I've been looking at how a business has to be run, I start to realize a business needs to have an objective. Because without an objective, no team or department or body of employees can have a true north goal, let's say.
Right.
We can't be on one page. And if we're not on one page, we can't be a proper functioning organism. It's like creating cancer, let's say. Because through, let's say, following the northern lights or whatever compass we're following, we can dedicate the proper goals to that objective and align our strategies and products to that. And then go from there, either by creating like small silos of departments or go very new age and decides no longer will we have departments, but have multidisciplinary teams that are focusing in on handling each and every project one by one, according to an aligned strategy that's aligned with a very specific goal that is again aligned with the objective.
And is this something that you learned through the process? Because I know you picked up a lot of things from watching your father, and then you had the desire to be able to do that for someone's life.
Yeah.
And then you found this process, this AZD process that has, I guess, given you more ideas on how to further that because you've done it with yourself and you've experienced it with yourself. So for a person to duplicate that in their life, what are some, if you were to give a couple things that a person could do to start making these changes in their life or business to experience what you've experienced and turn their past traumas or their pain, for instance, your
I
event
get
has
the
been
question.
profits.
I get the
Yeah.
question. So in essence, you're asking, what would be the number one advice I would give anyone? Should I give it?
Right.
And it would be a twofold answer. It would be one, how can you simplify your life even more? That's one of the main questions. Because as I was doing the ACD process, I started to realize my past life has created a lot of things that are in the way of doing this. So let's minimize what doesn't work so that I can create a better life. Let's say junk food, easy, negative thoughts, a bit harder. You see what I'm getting at? Because if you can minimize the things that don't work, like removing the gunk, let's say, if you compare your room with my room, I would love to have your OCD discipline because I'm working towards that. Having a very neat room, just having a clarity of mind. And the other part would be, can we maximize what works? Because if in the pain lies the answer, then I know that confronting conflict is now my way of life. No longer should I treat the conflict that I have with myself as a nuisance. No longer shall I move from that attention of self-hate. Can I build a man, a being of self-love, self-admiration, and self-respect through going to whatever turmoil that I have to go through? And it's not easy because I had to acknowledge that I've made mistakes and be okay with being okay. And I had to make it so simple that it became a simple routine of following the steps, and whatever comes up, I can be okay with it, even if I'm uncomfortable. Because what if the pain, what if the trauma is meant to heal me? Just this morning, or evening, I should say, I had a podcast with Ivan Alejandro Costa from Life Masters, I believe, or Men Eye Festing, and Dr. Sumit Chiriji, also known as Scripps. And one of the things that he talked about was, what if the universe wanted the best reality for you? Why would it give you so much pain? Because it doesn't make sense. Unless the pain was meant to build you up for new experiences. For instance, have you ever noticed that the moment you have overcome a hurdle, your life changes gradually? It's like planting a seed and watering it daily. A seed can only bloom through the dirt that it has been placed in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
And the
what do they
dirt
say?
becomes nutrients for you, my friend. I
Yeah. It's
mean,
like
you have
there's no
had a
way to
tough life
grow.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Like
up?
there's no way to grow without resistance. You have to go through the resistance. The obstacle is the way.
Yeah,
So I picked up, just because we're gonna wrap up here soon.
of
I picked
course.
up a few things that you mentioned when I asked what advice would you give to people. So the first thing I caught was, it's not just about what you have to add, it's about removing what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm,
And if you were to add anything, it's about adding more of the things that do work.
mm-hmm,
And you also said, gave this last piece, which is almost like reframing how you see the resistance and the negative things. You grow through the dirt and through that mind shift, and using
mm-hmm,
this process that you have. They don't necessarily need the full process that you went through, but if they can grab these two concepts and apply them to either their business or their life, they can transform to through these two things, right?
yes, well said. In my career, I have looked at businesses from two perspectives. What can we minimize so we won't have to do unnecessarily, administrative work? And what can we maximize to create more revenue? And of course, better clients, and of course, a better life for us all. What if we could do the same with our lives? And funny you should say, before the podcast that I had a very smooth voice. Could you imagine that I used to stutter? That I was so scared to talk because of my upbringing, because of my family, because of the culture I grew up in, and because I was teased and bullied relentlessly for the way that I spoke. Only 2 years later, find out that I have a very good voice. I just didn't realize that. I did not have that mental frame for it. And as I've always wanted to start a podcast, but I was still ashamed and in pain of all the teasing and etc. I had no other choice but to make it into an almost semi-career and side hustle. To be able to communicate and set ablaze the spirit of man to do better in life. Because let's face it, Marco J, even if you're talking about business, women, grabbing land, real estate, whatever, at the end of the day, we wake up for one thing: to win. And if through this process that I've described, being the ACD process, to build a better life, or to build a better business to what I'm teaching and coaching people on, then God damn it, let's win. And let those wins stacks. And don't let anyone tell you any different, my friend. Unless you're paying them, like me.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Strong finish. So yeah, I like to keep these podcasts not too long. And why don't you tell everybody about your event coming up, Pains to Profits? That's coming up pretty soon,
Thanks to
right?
the process, transcending your business, also known as your life problems, through the ancient knowledge of masters, being Epictetus, Michael Singer, Genghis Khan, Marcus Aurelius. These men have been going through very similar issues that we have gone through. And if we can handle our personal problems, we can handle the problems that are in business because they interconnect a lot of times. And if you have that answer, or those answers, or those systems, and you applied well, I'm willing to give you a refund and buy you tacos if this event is not useful for you. And if you still don't show up, then I can't help you, my friends. It's that simple.
Well, there you have it, guys. You get tacos and a refund if you invest in Ryan G's event and you don't gain anything from it, which I highly doubt. I mean, you drop so many gems on this podcast, a lot of things that I haven't seen the correlation with myself until you open my eyes to it. Any other last words before we end things there?
You as a man are only as strong as your tribe. And a business is a tribe. Don't view your business as a simple company. The moment people enter your company, they are part of it. I believe business owners, business leaders, decision makers should move from that. And as I said before, set ablaze the passion that I have, and use that passion to make the company better and win the day. W all, Miracle J.
O's brother, thank you so much for being a guest and agreeing to do this. I know we tried a couple times in the past for whatever reason it didn't work
Time
out.
zones.
But hey, man, it all worked out perfectly. I believe if we did it another time, it probably wouldn't have been as good as this.
It has worked as it should have.
But that's how it works. So thanks everybody for attending and listening to the podcast. Again, this is the Catastropiece. I'm your host, Miracle J. We're here every single week, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until next time, os.
Close.